Welcome to the Cedar Park United podcast. Today is the second Sunday of Easter, Holy Humour Sunday. Rooted in ancient tradition, it's a day to let Easter joy rise in laughter, music, and surprise. This isn't silliness for its own sake. It's a celebration of the outrageous good news. Christ is risen, and joy has the last word. And to this, candidate Minister Jessica Gauthier brings in the laughter.
It's contagious a little bit, laughter. Joy. Real, heart deep, gut-wrenching joy moves among us like light. And it slips into the cracks around us. It unsettles our plans, our polished moments. It bubbles up when we least expect it. And today, it is holy. For centuries, Christians celebrated the week after Easter with laughter. It was called Risus Paschalis, the Easter laugh, a celebration of the cosmic joke that God played on death itself. Christ is risen. Hallelujah. Death is undone. In fact, priests were once expected to tell jokes in their Easter sermons. Not polite little jokes, but real stories that made people laugh out loud. But humans being what we are, things eventually got way out of hand. And over generations, the laughter slipped into rudeness and even obscenity, priests telling bawdy jokes, even stripping naked in some cases. That's why I had to warn everyone when I took my alb off. And worship became chaotic rather than playful, rather than joyful. And by the 17th century, Pope Clement X finally said, "Enough," and he forbade it completely. Maybe we threw the baby out with the bathwater. I say we because that's part of our story. There is no such thing as the United Church or the Protestant Church, when the Easter laughing is going on. I think real holy joy never needs to be obscene. The laughter that springs out of joy, it's the healing kind. It's the best medicine kind. But laughter, even today, is complicated. Like just now, a moment ago, I bet there were a few really uncomfortable and worried people. Joy and sorrow are never far apart. It's okay. It's okay to laugh at a funeral. And it's okay to cry at a wedding. Our emotions are layered. They are tangled. They're human. And laughter does not erase grief. It holds hands with grief. So before I go any further, if you are carrying sorrow today, and many of us are, we're experiencing some losses. We've experienced losses in our community. We're preparing for transitions. We're preparing for retirements. There are unknowns. It's completely normal if some of us are holding on to some grief, if some of us are feeling the weight of life. So if that's you, you're welcome just as you are, and you don't have to fake happiness to belong. I think that God's joy has room for all of us, whatever we're feeling in that moment ourselves. So this morning we sang the joy, 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 joy that lives down in our hearts. And we've danced with the rhythms of spring, new greening for the love of Christ that all God's children can play in. And oh yes, believer, we have used the melody of a joyful Caribbean Christmas carol to claim our part in the story. And soon, we will sing the prayer that Jesus taught us with some new words that I've written for it. Something old, something new, something borrowed, and maybe a little Easter egg blue. And we will lift our voices finally at the end of this service in one of those jubilant hymn chestnuts that refuses to stand still. Christ Arose, written by the Presbyterian turned Baptist Robert Lowry, who thought he was a seminary professor and preacher, but everybody knows him as the famous hymn writer who gave us 500 hymns, many of which are core standards all across the Christian tradition. And we're going to sing that hymn not with the grim triumph that we're used to associating with anything joyful that comes out of a Christian's mouth, but with deep, uncontainable Easter joy. But Easter joy is not just about celebration. It's actually also about rescue. Before the tomb is found empty, before the shouts of Christ is risen, alleluia, fill the air, Christ descends into the shadowy places. The scriptures hint at it in 1 Peter. He was put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the Spirit, in which he also went and made a proclamation to the spirits in prison. And that's where we get that line in the Apostles' Creed, he descended into hell. And that's what many people celebrate on Holy Saturday. The harrowing of hell by the timeless, eternal human one. The artists of the early church painted it again and again. Jesus, radiant and strong, breaking open the gates of hell, grabbing Adam and Eve by the wrists, not offering a polite handshake, hauling them out of death's grip. Keys and locks are shattered at his feet in the blackness. The mouth of death is broken open behind him, and it means there is no place so dark that Christ won't go. There is no sorrow too old. There's no grief too hidden. There is no failure too final. I'm going to ask Chris to help me with something now. I want to tell you a story, and this is very special to me. So, Chris, I'm going to ask if you would hold it up to the camera so that the worshipers online can get a really good look, and then pass it around so that everyone gets a chance to look at this. Please, someone, put it back in my hands before the end of the last hymn. I would be so grateful. So, about a decade ago, I found an icon of the harrowing of hell. This one. It was painted on old wood, reclaimed wood from old houses, in a tiny icon shop in Crete, in Hania. And until then, I was, I guess, about 30-something, no one had ever explained to me what that line in the creed was about. From the time I was a child, I frowned every time I got there. He descended into hell, because it didn't make sense, because I thought he had nothing to be punished for, and nobody could explain it to me, and people got kind of annoyed when I asked them about it. And my spectrum personality did ask about it a lot, and it was probably uncomfortable, almost as uncomfortable as the laughing just now. But when I saw that icon, for the first time ever in my life, I saw Jesus grabbing Adam and Eve by the wrists, dragging them out of death. And in this image, I saw hope even for what has already been lost. Hope for what has been lost already. I saw grace that goes deeper than failure. It goes deeper than time. It goes even deeper than death itself. And I learned from that icon, which made me learn about Holy Saturday and the harrowing of hell and the Apostles' Creed and 1 Peter, that resurrection does not just raise the living, it shakes the dead awake. And C.S. Lewis captures it beautifully in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And I know it's the second time I'm quoting Narnia from the pulpit, and it might happen again because it's a special interest of mine, so prepare yourselves for Life with Jessica. Aslan, in the story, offers him his life in place of the traitor Edmund. The powerful White Witch believes she has won. But Aslan, the great lion, son of the emperor over the sea, the emperor beyond the sea, knows that love, real, willing, sacrificial love, breaks even death's power. And because, although this is not in the public domain in the States or England, but it is in the public domain in Canada, hallelujah, I am going to read you an excerpt that explains this much better, because these are C.S. Lewis's words. Aslan tells Lucy and Susan, though the witch knew the deep magic, there is a magic deeper still, which she did not know. Her knowledge only goes back to the end of time. But if she could look if she could have looked a little further back into the stillness and darkness before time dawned, she would have read there a different incantation. She would have known that when a willing victim who had committed no treachery was killed in a traitor's stead, the table would crack and death itself would start working backwards. And now, oh yes, now, said Lucy, jumping up and clapping her hands. Oh, children, said the lion, I feel my strength coming back to me. Oh, children, catch me if you can. And he stood for a second, his eyes very bright, his limbs quivering, lashing himself with his tail. Then he made a leap high over their heads and landed on the other side of the table. Laughing, though she didn't know why, Lucy scrambled over it to reach him. Aslan laughed again. He leaped again. A mad chase began. Round and round the hilltop he led them, now hopelessly out of their reach, now letting them almost catch his tail, now diving between them, now tossing them in the air with his huge and beautifully velveted paws and catching them again, and now stopping unexpectedly so that all three of them rolled over together in a happy, laughing leap of fur and arms and legs. It was such a romp as no one has ever had in Narnia. And whether it was more like playing with a thunderstorm or playing with a kitten, Lucy could never make up her mind. And the funny thing was that when all three finally lay together, panting in the sun, the girls no longer felt in the least tired or hungry or thirsty. This is something people of faith have always known, but sometimes we need to be reminded of it. God's joy is stronger than death. On this second Sunday of Easter, we stand at the threshold of that empty tomb, like Mary, like Peter, like that other disciple that Jesus loved, like Thomas. We wrestle with fear and wonder, disbelief. We live with joy and sorrow intertwined. And even now, Christ is reaching out, grabbing us by the wrist, pulling us into life that is deeper and wilder and freer than we ever imagined. We are part of the story. Thanks be to God.